What is up, my Beater Bros? Beater Maniac here, Week 13 NFL Power Rankings. As you can hear, the rustling of paper, it means I am back in business. After a 2-week layoff, we are back. We are doing, currently the gains and losses are from Week 11 to Week 13. I apologize for no Week 12. Also, as you know, if you are new to this process, well, if you are new, you don't know. The left is the biggest gainer, right is the biggest loser. This is an accumulation of 2 weeks, so there is a lot of movement. Stay tuned, I'll try to make this as quick as possible. It also works as a podcast type format if you are new, so just stay tuned. At number 32, we have the 49ers dropping 2 spots. Currently, it's due to piss poor quarterback performance and just wide receivers looking weak, stuff like that. This team, I think personally they should go for the number 1 pick. I don't normally like tanking, but when you get Jimmy G back healthy next year, you still got Matt Breida, you get a number 1 wide receiver or defensive player, it's looking really good. The Reuben Foster news also is not good for the 49ers. Then you have the Raiders moving up 1 spot to number 31, still a piss poor team, piss poor effort everywhere around the board, but, I don't know. Derek Carr, he's in an interesting situation where he's very capable of being a franchise quarterback. He has a franchise-leading type coach, but his team is absolute shit. Then you have the Cardinals at number 30, gaining 1 spot as well. Josh Rosen, he has shown massive improvements from when he started his first game this season. Christian Kirk is also showing quite improvements, and David Johnson is getting back into rhythm. That's also quite important. Then you have the Jets at number 29. Quarterback situation. Darnold, is he healthy? Is he not? The run game can't really get going. Wide receivers are lacking. The defense is, it's a tough situation for Todd Bowles. The Giants at number 28 had a good lead against the Philadelphia Eagles. They moved down 1 spot because they blew the lead. This team is an amalgamation of what happens when you don't have consistent performance. Eli has been playing really well the last 2 weeks, but as they gave up the lead, Eli Manning started making mistakes, and he has to play nearly perfect for this team to win, and that's not going to happen with an offensive line that bad. And then you have the Jags moving down 5 spots over the last 2 weeks to number 27 for losing 2 games in a row again. They are currently sitting at 3-8, I believe. Bortles is being benched for Cody Kessler, I believe, for the rest of the year, and I think this move is being made by Doug Marrone to save his job. OC being fired is also another big part of this. Defense can't stop anyone for an extended period of time. Josh Allen lit them up for a 75-yard touchdown pass. Josh Allen, a guy who hadn't really played for like 6-7 weeks, torched them. That should be enough said right there. Then, speaking of Josh Allen, you have the Bills at number 26 moving up 2 spots. It's been a tough couple weeks for them, but they performed quite well against the Jaguars. They had a 14-point lead, almost gave it up, but came back and won the game. Josh Allen playing better. I think it helped seeing Matt Barkley play, seeing Nathan Peterman play, seeing Derek Anderson play, seeing all those different quarterbacks play. I think it helped him figure out what he needs to do to help himself play better. The offensive line is still a concern, but LaShawn McCoy, at least he has some stability at running back. Wide receivers do need to do a better job, but there's not a ton of talent there, so I think they're doing almost as much as they can. Hopefully they pick a nice fast wide receiver there in either the first or second rounds. The defense does look pretty solid, but could still use some help. Then you have the Bucs at number 25. Jameis Winston, I believe, is now starting again. This whole quarterback situation is very interesting. The fact that they keep switching back and forth between Jameis Winston and Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they somehow lead the league in passing. It's a very interesting situation. I feel like, I don't know, this team has the talent to do so much better. It's just not. It has amazing wide receivers in Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans. It has a really good young running back in Peyton Barber. This team should be performing amazingly, but something's holding it back. It might be the defense, it might be the coaching, but I love consistency, and this team don't got it. You have the Lions at number 24 with a tough loss on Thanksgiving to the Bears. Teams have been performing better as of late, more consistently, less predictable. that stuff will pay off. Maybe not this year. This year could be a lost season for them, but maybe next year you really start to see the payoff. Sometimes when a coach goes into a new system, they don't succeed right away like a Sean McVay type coach. They should implement their new coaching in the first year. Players adjust. There's some struggles, stuff like that. I think this could be a very similar case to that kind of coaching change. And I think next year it's going to be a lot better. The Falcons at number 23 dropping 2 spots. This defense is awful. This offense is clicking, but the gears are grinding. There's something stopping this team from being able to execute. They lost to the Browns recently. They lost again. And I don't know what's wrong. I like Dan Quinn. I don't know if it's his play, if it's Sarkisian on the offensive play calling, or what they need to do on defense. This could also very well just be a situation where they have so many injuries on defense that they're playing with a bunch of backups, and it's not good enough. And next year, when everyone gets healthy, it's better. But we will see. And then you have the Dolphins dropping 2 spots as well after a tough loss to the Colts, which they led by 10 points. They blew it. Kenyon Drake got hurt. I have not heard any more about his status going into the future weeks, but it should be interesting to maintain an eye on that situation. Defense also struggling as well. They got some tough opponents coming up, and it should be interesting to see how they handle it. Then you have the Bengals dropping 6 spots to 21. And they are not the biggest loser, so this should show you a concern for the Redskins. But one reason why the Bengals dropped 6 spots over just a 2-week span is because of injuries. Andy Dalton is out for the year. They have the last ranked defense. They can't stop anybody. They started 4-1 and are now sitting at 5-6. That is an absolutely dreadful record, considering they started 4-1. I would be disappointed if my team started 4-1 and ended up 6-5, let alone 5-6. No Andy Dalton for the rest of the year. They're starting Jake Driscoll. I am seriously concerned about this team. AJ Green hasn't played in a couple weeks as well. This defense can't stop anybody. Marvin Lewis needs to go. And then you have the Browns gaining 3 spots after a couple solid week performances. Good win over the Bengals. Absolutely destroyed them, going up 28-0 early, scoring, I believe, touchdowns on their first 4 drives. Baker Mayfield is improving dramatically. Not sure if it's just quality of opponents or if it's also just his own improvement as well. I do think, granted, opponents do have some sort of factor into it, but it doesn't matter. You could be facing the worst team in the league, and if you're not ready for it, you won't play well. So there is a sign. Nick Chubb didn't have a good game per rush attempt statistically, but he contributed in the passing game and the rush game, and he, as a rookie himself, is also improving. And as he improves, it will help this Browns offense tremendously. And then you have the Packers at number 5, or number 19, dropping 5 spots is what I mean. Aaron Rodgers, he's capable of doing many, many things. As any football fan would know, Aaron Rodgers is probably one of the most capable quarterbacks in NFL history. But you can blame it on poor play calling, you can blame it on poor adjustments or stuff like that, but injuries to the wide receivers, injuries to the defense, and a lot of people are blaming it on Mike McCarthy. I also think he deserves a huge bulk of the blame as well. Aaron Rodgers needs to play perfect for the Packers to win, especially on the road, and he can't play perfect every week. And they have not won a single game on the road this season. That is a major concern going forward. I believe they need a coaching change, and as weird as it is to say this as a Patriots fan and seeing what happened last year, I think if the Packers fire Mike McCarthy, they need to bring in a Josh McDaniels type of coach. Not necessarily Josh McDaniels, but Josh McDaniels type of coach, or maybe pull out a college coach like Jim Harbaugh, or possibly the guy who got fired from Texas Tech University, just to bring in some fresh blood, some fresh ideas. Sure, he might not be able to command the locker room with a presence like Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers can help him grow as a coach, and he can also help the offense grow as a unit. So it would be a quid pro quo kind of thing. And you get the Redskins dropping 8 spots to number 18. Big reasons why, even though Colt McCoy performed admirably in the game, Alex Smith broke his leg. There's thoughts that he might come back by the end of the year, which if he did, that would be incredible. I just want him to play again. I don't care if it's this year, next year, or the year after. He's not a great quarterback. He is a good quarterback. He's fun to watch. He is a game manager through and through. He can't make tremendous throws. He won't blow you away, but he knows how to get wins. So I want success for him, and I want him to get healthy. One thing I hate being a fan of the NFL, not just the Patriots, but the NFL, is I hate seeing players get hurt. So best of luck to the Redskins. You have a lot of injuries. Hopefully you get healthy. Sometimes injuries, they're part of the season. You lose seasons to injuries a lot. It happens a lot. So hopefully, best of luck to you guys. Hopefully you guys get healthy. And then you have the Broncos on the opposite end of the spectrum, gaining 8 spots over the last 2 weeks with a couple of tough wins. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers with a last-minute interception, which Big Ben said there was holding on it, but Big Ben is an hypocritical asshole who ignored the fact that there was a blatant pick, or I forget the specific flag, offensive pass interference, something like that, when they just won a game a few weeks ago. I mentioned that on Twitter, and I'll mention it again. If you're not gonna complain when your team commits a flag, or if you're not gonna say anything when your team commits a flag that you know was a flag, don't say anything when it happens the other way. Broncos are tremendous. Philip Lindsay is an absolute monster. When Edmonds pushed him after he got out of bounds and Edmonds followed him, he did not back down, and I love the fight in that. Keenum has been performing admirably as well. Sanders is proving he's very, very capable of leading the wide receiving core by himself. He does not need a Demaryius Thomas type, but it's the other people. It's the other people in this offense as well, in the defense, that is proving to be very, very key to this team's success. But Keenum, he's in a good situation. They're currently 5-6, but they're in good position with their easiest part of the schedule coming up to get into the playoffs. Then you have the Titans dropping 5 spots to number 16. Mariota was hurt, but he played amazing against the Texans last night on Monday Night Football. The defense, though, absolutely did not show up. This team's on a skid, and they need to figure out what they are going to do quickly. The Titans at 5-6, considering what the AFC playoff picture looks like, cannot afford to lose another game next week or the week after. They are most likely going to have to go 10-6 to make it into the playoffs. And at 5-6, that's not looking too good. Then you have the Eagles at number 15, also at 5-6, gaining 1 spot over the last 2 weeks with a good win over the Giants. What concerns me the most is the fact that they went down by so much to the Giants. But they did come back and win it. Carson Wentz played better later in the game. The run game, I'm not so sure, but the line play, one of the most important things in football, has been a little bit more consistent lately. Still not the best it's been, but they are battling a tremendous amount of injuries, and they are trying to make it through. Another team that's going to maybe have to win out to make the wild card, but they do have the talent to do it. They do. Then you have the Colts at number 14, gaining 5 spots. There's not much more to say about that, but Marlon Mack having an incredible game before he got hurt. Biggest note, Eric Ebron, one of the league-leading touchdown getters this year so far, lost his tight end mate in Jack Doyle. I believe Jack Doyle went on IR. I don't know how that's going to reciprocate into the rest, or how it's going to translate to the rest of the offense of the Indianapolis Colts. Interesting statistic I believe I saw is the Colts are 5-1 with Jack Doyle and 4-1 and 1-4 without him. So I'm pretty sure that's just random statistics pulled out to prove a point. But Andrew Luck, he's back, and the defense of the Colts is not a pushover anymore. So this team very much could easily grab a wild card. They have what it takes. It's going to be interesting to see the end of the season. And then you have the Cowboys at number 13, gaining 4 spots over the last 2 weeks. Good wins overall. The addition of Amari Cooper to that Cowboys offense looks to have been the remedy that the Cowboys needed all along. which makes me wonder why it took so long to do that in the first place. If you know, Jerry Jones did that at the beginning of the season, Cowboys would be in much better position right now. But Amari Cooper had a tremendous game. This dude is balling hard, and it's doing a lot of things for the Cowboys offense. They are going to be an interesting team to watch for the rest of the year. They are, I believe, in pole position for the NFC East, which would give them at least one home game in the playoffs, and home games in Dallas in the postseason aren't that common these days. And then you have the Seahawks moving up 6 spots, so they kind of leapfrog the Cowboys, but I believe their quality of opponent is just a little bit better. Seahawks moving 6 spots is mainly because they put a whooping on the Panthers, and they beat the Packers the week before. This team's looking good. Moore's looking good at wide receiver. The wide receivers overall of the Seahawks are pulling in tough catches. Russell Wilson's making the plays that he used to do when he was damn near MVP. Running back situation's probably the best it's been in Seattle since Marshawn Lynch. You got multiple weapons that look very dangerous. Chris Carson leading the way. He's a beast. The flip play he made where he caught himself on the ground and kept running show the heart that this team has. And I think Seattle, more so than not, and I don't know if anybody will agree with me, is a team that plays much better with heart necessarily than with talent. They could be the most talented roster with no heart and still not perform as well as this team, who may not be the most talented, but they got some of the biggest hearts I've seen in football this season. And yeah, the Panthers at number 11 on 2-game skid, going to 6-5. The middle of the pack here is very huddled at teams at 6-5 and 5-6. It's a very interesting season in that factor. Panthers got 2 tough games coming in their division against the Saints, I believe, in week 15 and 17, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns around as well. Panthers really, really need to get wins while they can before they face the Saints, or else they could be in trouble. You know, the Ravens at number 10, gaining 2 spots. Lamar Jackson has performed, I think, quite well. He played a lot better this week than last week in filling in for Joe Flacco. I think this honestly spells the end for Joe Flacco in Baltimore at the end of the season. He's been a good quarterback. I'm not going to say Joe Flacco was ever elite. I was always a guy who said Joe Flacco is borderline elite, but not elite. He won a Super Bowl, but he's not an elite quarterback. They could possibly trade him to a team that needs a quarterback. Who knows? But they could keep him on, also teaching Lamar Jackson. But I think Lamar Jackson's going to be the way to go in Baltimore from now on. Alex Collins getting healthy is going to be important. The run game for this Baltimore Ravens, I think personally, is what's holding them back just a little bit. But the defense, Terrell Suggs, seeing a 36-year-old man trot down on a defensive touchdown is always hilarious. And we're going into the top 9 with the Vikings moving down 1 spot. This is more so due to the other teams ahead of them. Vikings have been performing well. Run game looked atrocious, though, so that's a huge concern. If they weren't playing the Packers, they probably would have lost, not being able to run the ball at all. Their defense is turning it around. Their passing game is turning it around. Their run game just needs to get it going. And you have the Bears at number 8, moving up 5 spots. I thought originally this might be too big of a jump, but the Mac factor is back. He has made that defense one of the fiercest units I have seen in football all year. This team won with Chase Daniels at quarterback. A dude who hadn't thrown a touchdown pass in 1,700 days or 1,100 days, something like that, won him the game because this defense held the Lions down, spanked them, and with the game tied, I believe 16-16, something like that, the defense got a touchdown, the last touchdown of the game, and won the game for the Bears. This team almost reminds me of the Broncos team that won the championship on defense when Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler weren't playing too well. Could this Bears team do the same? Who knows? Then you get the Steelers dropping 2 spots to number 7 with a tough loss to the Denver Broncos. And it's not only that, the game before where they beat the Jaguars are a paltry team at 3. We're at 3-6 at that point. They were down 16-0 for most of the time and needed a last-second Ben Roethlisberger touchdown to win. Their defense couldn't stop Bortles early in the game, and that is a huge concern. They did lock him down later in the game, which is good, but you got to remember these top 6 teams are something special. Even the 7th, 8th, and 9th teams are all something special, but the inconsistencies from the defense are a huge concern. The offense, although Juju Smith-Schuster and Antonio Brown feasted against the Broncos for much of the game, the Steelers still couldn't get it done. Big Ben, too many turnovers, very inconsistent play, and I love me some consistency. A little bit more consistency from him, and the Steelers could be a top team in the league. Then you got Texans, yet number 6 on an 8-game win streak. They move up 3 spots, and yes, on a big of a win streak as they have, moving up 3 spots is not an easy thing to do when you're this high up. Deshaun Watson looking tremendous. Lamar Miller becoming one of the only people in NFL history, if not the only person, to run multiple 97-yard touchdown runs. It was incredible. That touchdown run was incredible. The Titans' defense, I thought, was a lot better than that, but that is the kind of run that rips the heart out of enemies. The defense is also putting it together, and when you have DeAndre Hopkins and Demaryius Thomas on the outside, this team could make it to the Super Bowl. That's my honest impression on that. They could go head-to-head with the Chiefs, I believe. And you have the Chargers at number 5 dropping 1 spot. They've won their games. It's not that they haven't. They just recently beat the Cardinals 45-10, but the loss of the Broncos is one thing that concerns me over the last couple weeks. If this was a week-by-week scenario, I think the Chargers would have actually moved up after their beatdown of the Cardinals, but step by step, this pass rush looks insane. This Melvin Gordon, I hope he comes back healthy. That's another reason why I don't have them a little higher, is because of the injury to Melvin Gordon, where he is week to week, is a huge concern and could end up costing this Chargers team a game or two. But with the wide receivers that the Chargers have, they should be fine, especially with that defense. But Phillip Rivers playing at an MVP level, setting NFL records last week. The Chargers should survive. Then you have the Patriots at number 4, gaining 3 spots. I hesitate to move them up anytime because I am a huge Patriots fan, but I'm also hugely skeptical of anything they do. Another big reason for their boost is Rex Burkhead is now coming off of IR, adding another dimension to that Patriots offense. They don't need to necessarily rely on Cordero Patterson so much in the play-action game or in the sweeps or whatever they use him for. They can use now Rex Burkhead to give James White a little bit more rest, give Sony Michel a little bit more rest. The thing with those two running backs, as good as they've been, when you see James White in the game, you see him more as the pass catcher. When you see Sony Michel in the game, you see him more as a power back. But if you can throw in Rex Burkhead, he can be a power back. He can catch it just as well. It confuses the defense a little bit more. Gronk looks absolutely healthy for the first time in a while. Edelman looks to be benefiting from that as well. And the defense looked a lot more solid against the Jets, forcing key turnovers, shutting down the run game. And that's something the Patriots are going to have to do if they want to get far into the postseason this year. They have to stop the run game of the opposing team, and that's something they haven't been able to do much, but they're getting healthy, and the Patriots, everyone knows when they're healthy, they are dangerous. And then you have the Chiefs at number 2. Personally, I still think they're the best team in the AFC, hands down. Losing a tough game to the Rams is much to be expected. That was a couple weeks ago, obviously. They were on bye last week. So I'm just talking, in a 2 week span, I'm going to talk about the Rams game. That's probably the biggest reason why they dropped 2 spots, is because of the week before last week, not last week itself. Tough game against the Rams. Mahomes with 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles. Like, if you look back into the score of the game being 51-54, 5 turnovers. If you turn over the ball 5 times and you lose by 3, you gotta figure you're the reason why you lost. Granted, he did have 6 touchdowns, but if you tell someone your quarterback's gonna throw 6 touchdowns but have 5 turnovers, you wouldn't necessarily be happy. I think he's a mentally strong kid. He's a mentally strong young quarterback. He's gonna bounce back. This team should have almost no problem snagging the number 1 seed in the AFC. The biggest roadblock to them will be the Chargers defense. If they can get past the Chargers defense, they should be just fine. And who knows what this team's capable of doing with a number 1 seed. Then you have the Rams at number 2 gaining 1 spot with a win over the Chiefs. Initially, I had thought when they lost to the Saints that they were in bad shape, but they're looking good. Gurley's looking good as well. And Robert Woods looked amazing against the Chiefs. And the Rams are a special team. The defense also looks to be even more dominant than it was before. They are terrifying. And I can only pray, as a Patriots fan, if there's any way we make it to the Super Bowl this year, that we do not face the Rams. Mainly because I know how bad our offensive line is, and plus Todd Gurley scares the shit out of me when it comes to our run defense. Then you have the Saints at number 1, the best team in the league. Only lost week 1 and have been on a win streak ever since, to the same effect of the Texans. This team is absolutely insane. Michael Thomas is an insane wide receiver. Drew Brees is having an insane season. Probably historically the best quarterback season I've ever seen in my life. And I mean that sincerely. I'm not going to say he's the best quarterback of all time. He has the most passing yards. He's going to have the most passing yards of any quarterback of all time. But in the back of my mind, I see the years where they were always down by like 20 or 30 points, so he had to constantly throw the ball all the time. And I remember games where they were up 50-something to 10, and they would just keep chucking the ball all over the field and stuff like that. So, but seriously, the completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio, possibly the best quarterback season of all time. And guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.